Good morning. This is Michelle Love, and you are listening to Dynamic Change. And I hope you are fantastic this morning. This is aired on KPCA LP in Petaluma, a free range radio TV station. And I hope you're enjoying the hot weather. It is starting to get really warm out there already. It's 11 o'clock. So this show, today I'm going to talk about loneliness. And what I do with this show is I'm a certified wellness coach, self-defense instructor, and fitness trainer, and I have a degree in psychology. And I like to bring my 30 years worth of experience working in the wellness field to break down a lot of psychological patterns and emotional things that people tend to go through that are very common, and kind of peel back the layers of it to give you an example of how it settles in each level of our internal processing. So it settles in your mind, it settles in your emotions, it settles in your body, how you feel, and then it manifests in how we do things in our life. And when we want to heal that, we have to look at all these different layers and how we can work with each layer and develop a new pattern that will bring us more wellness. So that's what I will be providing today. And I upload all my shows onto my YouTube channel, and you can watch the other ones if you're so inclined. It's Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness. You can also get more information about me through my website, dynamicchange.wellness.com. And you can also email me through there if you would like to give me a particular pattern you would like me to speak about in a future show. So today, I'm so excited to talk about loneliness because I feel like it's a really prominent thing in life that most of us feel, I think. And even for those of us that aren't naturally lonely very easily, I think as we're maturing through life, when we go through the stages of getting to know ourselves, feeling strong within ourselves and everything, it is kind of a phase of figuring out how to relate to others, how to find companionship. So I really feel like loneliness is kind of this gauge that we use in life to kind of understand what we want, to understand how much connection we need. So it is something that I think we learn from as we're growing up, and sometimes we have a lot of issues in this arena, sometimes we don't, but it's kind of like one of the learning steps that we go through, I think, in life as we're developing as people, particularly through teenager years and young adulthood. So I think that loneliness stems from a lack of connection and also can be abandonment. So as a child, if we grew up with somebody that, with an environment, with parents where we felt we didn't get enough of a container. Now I want to break down the experience of the container. So a safe container emotionally feels like we are provided for. It's like it almost bumps up against what we feel is the boundary of ourself. Okay, so when we have enough support, we have enough safe container, it's like you feel met. You feel emotionally and like kind of energetically something bumping up against who you are. So you feel contained, you feel safe, you feel physically, emotionally, it's like the same thing where you feel almost held. There's that support that you are getting from your experience within the family. So what I want to speak to is when that's not there and how it can affect the experience of developing a pattern of deep loneliness. So today I'm going to make up my imaginary person. I like to make up people, and the name is going to be Misty. So my example of this experience for this imaginary person named Misty is Misty grew up with a family unit. The structure of the family was where, let's say, the parents had some substance issues. They worked a lot, and then when they were home, there was some substance use. Maybe they drank a lot. So Misty didn't feel that they were very emotionally available, didn't feel they were, very present with her physically. They kind of worked a lot and then came home and they kind of unwound their day by over drinking. And so there just wasn't this feeling of that they were really there, right? They're a little checked out. They're pretty checked out. So with this environment, there was this sense of feeling abandoned because they were the parents were wrapped up in, just kind of trying to handle their own life, trying to handle maybe really stressful jobs, really stressful amount of bills. It's not an excuse, as far as being checked out for your kid, but this could be how it plays out. Life has a lot of messy moments. So they, and then when they came home, they just kind of had nothing left for the kid. And for them to cope, they were utilizing substance to a degree that was dysfunctional. So Misty grew up feeling kind of invisible, feeling just really alone within the family, within the house. The house, Misty kind of felt like she just really had just herself, and that the parents were just kind of doing their own thing. So there's definitely this lack of connection, maybe a lack of physical contact. Maybe there wasn't a lot of hugs or like them checking in with Misty. How was your day? How was school? Is there anything you would like to do today? Maybe we can do a family function together. So this kind of connecting, Misty did not feel like they really got. Misty was kind of a quiet kid. They hung out in their room. They liked to color, and they would just kind of hang out in their room a lot because that's how they adapted to the situation. So that they became very self-reliant, which can make you strong. That's the bonus, right? It can make you strong in some ways, but it was also had a lonely feeling to it because there just wasn't this emotional or like hanging out physical kind of presence with the family that made Misty feel like she had a container. And so I love this description, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. So we all have energy. Your energy works with your emotions. And that's why therapy, a lot of times these days, they're incorporating more and more meditation, more and more techniques that have a meditative quality. And the tapping and all the different things, the EMDR, there's all these different things, because psychology is really reaching towards how do you access the deep subconscious, the somatic level of your emotional experience, of how your emotions end up living in your body. So in alignment with those concepts, we have energy in our body. Scientists, they have to admit it these days, it's true. And that's why when you meditate, it's one of the fastest ways to start healing your emotions. So I'm going to speak about that feeling, that safe container, with So if you're a sensitive person and you kind of really feel people's emotions, maybe you're really empathic, maybe you even feel energy, you have energy within your body, and it's part of your being. It's part of your emotional experience. It's kind of like that gut feeling, that intuition you get when you're around people. It's part of your sensory input. Okay, and I don't think we think about it a lot, but it's definitely there. So we have this experience in life. So the safe container is when you feel met as a person. So when you feel met as a person, like you're nurtured, your needs are met, you feel safe, you feel it. It bumps up against your energy and your that you have, that's kind of right around your being, that gives you that extra amount, extra sense of input, that intuition. You feel it. And when you feel met, where you have that nurturing, you have that physical presence, you have that emotional support, then it affects your physical sense of feeling safe. So there's these layers. So there's this emotional, energetic, I feel like they're present with me, that starts to develop the sense of physical safety. So all these layers work together. But when that is missing, so Misty did not grow up with that. She didn't feel that they were engaged with her. She didn't feel that they, were physically connected to her, like spending time with her, or maybe giving her a hug, or giving that physical feedback of, I feel this solid connection on a physical level with the parents really being there, really being present. So Misty started to feel kind of not seen as a child, felt that there was almost, on an energetic and emotional level, it creates like this, almost feels like a little bit like a vacuum. So Misty feels, wow, their energy, their presence, they're not meeting me. I don't feel like they are giving me that connection, that boundary, that sensation. So Misty ends up feeling kind of like I have to reach for that connection with other people because they're not coming to me. They're not bringing that boundary right up to Misty. So Misty develops this feeling of I have to overcompensate. I have to reach within my being, emotionally, energetically, physically, by finding people to connect with. And this can be a little dangerous as a kid. So the kid can then develop this unhealthy sense of, in order for me to find fulfillment of connection, I have to keep reaching for others. And hopefully there's good people around that Misty ends up reaching towards. But there creates this kind of void within Misty, this hole that she's trying to fill up because it didn't develop in a healthy way where it felt full. It felt like that tank was filled up. Misty kind of felt this void, this emptiness, this hole. And Misty at some point, as they grow up, most likely is going to feel like they have to fill up that hole because it doesn't feel complete. There's something missing. We are all able to recognize when something feels like it's missing. And we often don't know how to label it. Sometimes we don't even know how to label it. And we don't know how to satisfy that emptiness very easily. So often, like Misty would develop this kind of, she could become codependent. She could start thinking, well, what do I need to do to get people to like me, show up for me, be there for me, so they could develop that codependency kind of pattern of like imprinting deep down inside. I have to do a lot of the work to engage with people. I have to do not only find them, reach for them. So rather than having been met as a child where they had this safe container, because a healthy experience is you feel met, so you understand that healthy experience involves both people. So let's say that the friendships, both people do 50% of the work to create a whole. So healthy experience has where the child understands, I only have to do 50%, and then another person that's healthy in this way will do the other 50%, and that creates the whole connection. So no one's overcompensating, no one's trying to do this unhealthy pattern. There's just this confidence in, I only have to do 50% of the relationship, and that creates this healthy connection with someone else. And so when that is lacking, that safe container experience that helps you build up and understand who you are, and you feel whole enough to explore connection with others as you get older and older, friendships and then romantic relationships, there's this understanding where you're developing your image, your identity, your understanding of yourself, and relating to other people on an emotional level, an intimate level, everything. As you grow up, you understand that I only have to do 50%. And you feel confident and comfortable and secure within that identity and that learning. So, but for Misty, they didn't learn that because no one was giving her 50%. They were maybe giving like 35 or 40%. They weren't paying much attention to Misty. They made sure Misty ate. They made sure Misty made it to school. So she was getting some container, but there wasn't that emotional quality. There wasn't that, how was your day, honey? Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's go to the park together. How are you feeling? So Misty wasn't getting that quality time and connection. So she started to feel this empty tank. I'm going to equate it to like an empty tank feeling, this emptiness, this void. So she imprinted as a child, thinking, believing, emotionally feeling like she had to figure this out in order to connect and make friends. She had to do more than 50%. She had to reach further than what is healthy, which can create a codependency type of pattern. It can create this people-pleasing type of pattern. So Misty grows up and they're desperate for connection, desperate for friendship because they already feel empty. So then they're trying too hard to people please because they feel like they have to do that. They're not lovable just doing the healthy 50% of connection, a healthy 50% of 100% of connecting with somebody, a friend, a relationship, whatever. So healthy is this 50% that you both are working, you both are engaging, you both have a full energy, a full participation of the experience. So Misty grows up feeling a little inadequate, feeling not quite lovable and confident, and a little shy, and grows up struggling with her friendships, struggling with getting to know how to make friends when she's at school, and a little too much thought goes into, what do they think about me? What do I have to do to get their approval? So this matures and moves on, and Misty becomes, a teenager and kind of struggles because she's really looking for approval. She's really looking for some sort of connection. And then they start moving into intimacy and boyfriends or girlfriends, or, finding a partner and growing up. So as Misty gets older, the problem with this is they have this hole that came from imprinting in this way of feeling less than. It translates into feeling less than what is desired to feel like a lovable person. This empty tank, I think, really can translate into identity issues. There must be something lacking in me. I'm not quite lovable. So there's a subconscious deep layer that can get really buried and acted out upon. This emptiness translates into who they are, rather than it just being this thing they imprinted on a pattern, right? So it becomes personal. So then when they look towards, developing relationships of an intimate level, there's this reaching. And so this reaching can be that they don't have enough standards. They don't understand that they were lovable to begin with. They just imprinted on this experience, and so they are reaching towards finding, they don't feel worthy to wait for the best thing to come along. So they are reaching, and they are kind of just going for whatever happens to come to them easily. And this can be quite unfortunate, because often we learn through life, we kind of go through some not the healthiest experience to learn what we don't want. So then in waiting for something, to come along, we have to go through, okay, well, I didn't enjoy that experience. They weren't emotionally available at all. It was all about them. Or maybe they were mean. Maybe they were mean-spirited. Or maybe Misty was bullied through her friendships. So because there's this hole, it will attract, and her behavior will reflect this slight layer of kind of overreaching, of maybe feeling a little desperate, feeling maybe some anxiety around it. There is this emptiness within the self that creates this kind of vacuum for things to just, whatever will satisfy that opening. And that tends to be unhealthy stuff. So that's kind of what I want to speak to, is what do we do with feelings of loneliness? So Misty is attracting, it's not her fault, but this is just how it plays out, okay? She's attracting partners that are not emotionally available, that are not really engaging with her. So she's used to this pattern because she grew up with this pattern with the parents. She doesn't know how to fix it. So she's attracting people that are not there for her, like the parents, mirroring what she grew up with. She's attracting people with substance issues, and she's not understanding how to change her behavior, change her standard in life, how to have that boundary for herself, create her own safe container to where she's not overreaching. She's not doing, maybe she is doing 60 or 70% of the relationship because she did that pattern as a child. She felt like, well, I have to overextend because she's not used to being met with someone doing 50%. So she is finding people that only put out 30%, and that is not satisfying. And unfortunately, when we fill it up with a continued lack of healthy things, it can even make the hole bigger, which is like really disappointing. The hole gets bigger and bigger. We don't want that. So Misty realizes that for the last 3, let's say she's in her mid-20s now, she's like, wow, I just keep going through these experiences of having people that have all these issues. It is creating this this negativity in my life, and it's pulling me towards parting more than what feels good. It's pulling Misty. She's going, wow, it's really pulling me towards this negative experience in my life that's so empty feeling, doesn't feel satisfying. So for Misty, how can she heal this? This is the question. So Misty comes to this place in her life where she's like, I really want to change where this is leading. I want to change this pattern. So Misty realizes, let's say she got some therapy, she started journaling, she's realizing, she's tuning into herself, and she's like, I feel empty inside. So that's the bottom line. I feel lonely, I feel empty, and I felt abandoned in my childhood. The parents were just checked out. So she's like, how can I deal with this feeling of loneliness, this feeling of abandonment, to create a safe container for herself, for her identity, her sense of self? So she's no longer feeling like she has to reach outside herself for that identity, for that feeling, that sense of self. Because I really think it affects the sense of self. When you grow up without that safe container, there is this deep-rooted subconscious feeling of not having enough safe container for you to fully develop a strong sense of self. That's the unfortunate thing. So then it has to be healed later, which it can be healed. That's the great news. So Misty's like, okay, how can I do this? So to fill that void, I talk a lot about meditation is not a super easy thing to do. I teach meditation, I teach guided meditation, and I have put a lot of that into my shows. And so the reason I do that is because it really helps work with your emotional body and understanding that we do have energy in our bodies, and it affects how we feel. It affects how we feel, our boundary between ourselves and the world. So that's why I teach that a lot. So Misty realizes, wow, I need to work on feeling some wholeness within myself. So Misty gets this recommendation to do some Qigong. I tell people this all the time. You can find free Qigong. There's like Tibetan monks on YouTube. They're fantastic. Take you like 10 minutes. But you look it up and feel it. Say, okay, that one feels right. Trust your intuition. Look at them and say, okay, this one feels right. So Qigong, the way you look it up, it's spelled Qi, and you can pronounce it different ways, but I'm going to pronounce it Qigong for this moment. It could be like Qigong. I know there's other ways that you could pronounce it better, I'm sure. But for right now, most people know it as Qigong, at least in the Western world. So it's Qi is one word. The other word is gong, like you hit a gong, G-O-N-G, 2 words, Qigong. So look up Qigong and see, and you'll find that people have some guided, and they will tell you what it's for releasing stress, for building your energy up, for feeling peaceful, for relaxation, for increasing your energy level. So look it up, find one. But doing any of those, I tell you, it is some really, really therapeutic stuff. I really recommend it. So she started doing some Qigong. She looked on YouTube, she found someone she liked, and it started to fill up her empty tank by working with her energy. So some of that tank is going to be energetic. That's going to help with the emotional body. So then she needs to do something for her emotional body. So her emotional body, she realized that for her, what helps feed her emotional body is doing something that feels very nurturing and loving. And she decided to start volunteering at the animal rescue, contacted the Humane Society and said, okay, how can I volunteer for the animals? She loves animals because this feeds her soul. This feels her emotions. This gives her an outlet for love. Okay, if we do things that are meaningful, that bring forth this love, it's going to start filling up that tank. And this gives her connection. She feels connected with the animals when she's there. She feels the satisfaction of helping them. She feels, so this love is healing for her. So she's like, okay, I'm going to work with the animals. So that really fills up the tank some. And then she's like, okay, now I need to feel a level of creation. When we create for ourselves, it helps us create in our lives. So to do creative energy in our life, she's like, I'm going to study a musical instrument, she decided. That really feels inspiring. And so when we're inspired, it's like passion too. So creating that passion, she's like, okay, this is a fun one. I did this one. I thought it was so much fun. Is drumming. Now, I do currently study the hand drum for quite a few years now. And for me, that is like an outlet. But a really fun one, I had never studied the drum set, like the old school drum set, like a rock and roll band. And I was grateful that I had this drum teacher, Michael. He was so lovely. And he taught me how to do the old-fashioned drum set. And it was the most fun thing. I just have to tell all of you. I recommend it. I highly recommend it. It was so much fun. I could hardly contain how exuberant I felt doing that type of drumming. And I feel the same when I play my doumbek, but I was like, I can see why people do it. It's like joyful. It's like fun. It's like acting out. You get to hit things. You get to go, psh, and hit the cymbal. It's like so much fun. So she decided, Misty was like, I'm going to go get drum lessons. And I hope she found someone as fun as Michael. Because he was just a fantastic teacher. So she decided to go find herself, a drum set teacher. And this gave her joy. This gave her, passion. This was exciting. It was exciting. Doing something that feels exciting. Martial arts is another fantastic thing that brings up it's like bringing up the fire within the self in a healthy way, not through substance, not through danger seeking. And there's nothing wrong with thrill seeking. Some people jump out of airplanes and that's fantastic. Things that make you feel alive, right? So I'm talking about something that gives you that was exciting, that was exhilarating. And some people will rock climb. There's all kinds of ways to do it. So she decided, I'm going to do the drum set. So she gets herself some lessons on the drum. And then she's like, what can I do for my mind? I'm going to take a quick pause just to remind everybody in case you tuned in late. This is Michelle Love. My name is Michelle Love. This show is called Dynamic Change. I'm on KPCALP in Petaluma, and I am talking about loneliness, the pattern of loneliness. And I made up a name today to talk about a story of how this can manifest in life. Her name is Misty, and we're talking about how she can heal her empty tank. I'm equating it with an empty tank. Loneliness has created this void, this hole, this feeling of emptiness that is like an empty tank, this void within the self, and how she can now heal it and empower herself to heal it. So she's working on the layers of herself. So now she's like, how can I create some thrilling, exuberant, passionate excitement in my life? She's gonna go take drum lessons on an old school drum set. So much fun. Highly recommend it. I've done this. Okay. So she decides to do that, and so she's working on that layer, and this is going to inspire her. This is going to move her energy. This is going to make her feel happy. So she's doing all these different layers. It's so fantastic. So then she's like, okay, now another way to feel better is let's say she decides, okay, I'm going to work out now, because it helps not only increase endorphins that help with depression. So loneliness is also going to feel depressing, right? It has that element too. So when you exercise, you're creating endorphins that naturally make you feel good without unhealthy substances. Okay. So she's like, I'm going to start hiking, and just like a little bit of power hiking, like a fairly challenging trail, go for an hour. I'm going to go once a week and start there and be out in nature, which also fills up the tank. So part of our humanness, of the experience of being a person, is also the connection with nature. That feeds our soul. Like we feel that, like there are so many ways to connect. So Misty's like, I'm gonna go hike in a beautiful place every week so I can feed my soul with the beauty of nature, with the breathing in the fresh air, with increasing releasing endorphins in my body. And it's just making me feel beautiful. Misty's like, I just feel more attractive. It doesn't matter how I look, but I just feel it. Like, so the spunk is coming back, right? She's getting spunk. She's feeling good in her body. So then she's like, okay, and what can I do for my mind? She's thinking, well, okay, I'm going to go get a book, something that feeds my mind. And what I always love to recommend is finding someone witty and humorous. So when I'm reading a book, I love to find someone with some wit and some humor that will make me laugh out loud. So it can be relaxing. It doesn't have to be like you have to go learn something. She's already learning drumming. So she's already, working on, keeping her mind sharp with the drumming. So now she's just going to work with her mind. So maybe she's just going to find a book. And so books can also feel like a friendship. They can feel like a companionship, someone that's almost talking with you, being there with you. So just reading a book can take you outside of your own experience. And so finding something that is enjoyable, that feels positive, that is entertaining and engaging, gives you some companionship as well. All these things are feeding the empty tank feeling, the void of loneliness, and bringing companionship. So the way we bring companionship to ourselves is we feed our own sense of being. We fill up our own emptiness, our tank, by feeding it with good things. So she's like, I'm going to give up drinking, she decides. Now that never makes me feel good. It always makes me feel more depressed. So she's like, okay, Misty's like, I'm going to give up drinking and I'm going to work on eating a little better. Because she noticed that she does emotional eating as well. When she feels lonely, she feels depressed, she, goes to get that carton of ice cream, which I think we have all done, which there's no shame in that. Sometimes it's totally just valid. Do it. But, doing it all the time isn't good for us. And we're doing it because we're trying to fill this void. So now Misty's created all these different ways to start feeding her sense of self, to feel good within herself, fill up her tank, and she notices she's starting to feel a lot better. And then she's going to decide, okay, I'm feeling a lot better, so now I feel more lovable, which is fantastic. And she starts thinking, and she's not dating for a while. She's like, I'm just going to work on me. Because the thing is, when we are trying to find relationship and sometimes even friendships, we may even attract toxic friends when we are doing it from a deficit place, an empty tank place, and we are reaching in this way that is a little bit of a vacuum. We're going to suck in things to fill up that emptiness. Often, almost all the time, they're not for our highest good, unfortunately. They will attract people that are not the healthiest, maybe people that are maybe going to take advantage of Misty, or they like it that she overextends and she has some codependency type of behaviors, rather than her feeling whole enough within herself to have the healthy boundaries that to where she'll just do 50%, she'll speak up enough for herself, she'll say when things are upsetting, she realizes she deserves to be treated really well. So this is like a big deal. So Misty has realized that these things are really helping her. And so she's like, I'm not going to date for a while. I'm going to do this. She gives herself a time frame. She says, I'm going to go for 5 months. I'm not going to date anybody, and I'm just going to really focus on me and do all these things. So she is doing some Qigong for her energy. And this will also give her more energy and to help her give her a sense of fullness within herself. So she's doing her Qigong every day for 10 minutes. Off of YouTube, she found a monk she really likes that does the YouTube session. Really helpful, great, free, easy. Maybe she's done some therapy too, and that helps her out. And then she's like, okay, she decided she's volunteering again at the Humane Society. She feels so much connection, so she's getting connection. She's getting that warm, fuzzy feeling and nurturing from helping the animals. The animals give us a lot. Animals are good people, in my opinion. So you can feel them. They are so giving, and they're so grateful and appreciative. So I really have to throw that in there. I hope people, really respect and realize how lovely the animal people are. I'm going to call them people because their presences are just so lovely, and they're not less than us. To me, they are just, to really respect their level of presence and how kind they are. So this feeds her soul. Misty's like, oh, I get to work with these animals. I get to help them. I feel so much, value within myself. They're so grateful, and it touches my heart. So that's really healing. It starts to fill up her tank, right? So she's like, I volunteer with the animals twice a week at the shelter, and it's really helped shifting how I feel in my life. So her heart's feeling more whole. She's doing something meaningful. And then she's playing the drums. Another one of my favorites. So she's playing the drum set, and it's like every time she does it, she feels excited. She feels like it's just moving something inside of her that feels exuberant, that feels motivating, that feels fiery and feisty. And she's like, oh, this is so fantastic. So she does a drum lesson every week. fantastic. And then she's like, I'm going for a hike. Now she's going 2 or 3 times a week. She's decided she goes on her days off or even after work 1 day a week. And she's doing every time she picks some place that's beautiful, she's appreciating the beauty of nature. This is filling up the empty tank feeling. She's getting exercise. She's doing some challenging hikes, and she's realizing, wow, the hiking really helps me feel good in my body. I'm feeling attractive. I'm feeling spunkier. I'm feeling more adventurous. And so she's starting to feel more and more and more and more whole within herself. And then with her mind, she's reading this book that she's just enjoying it so much. It's like having a friend there. And so it's filling up the empty tank of loneliness. She's getting connection there. So she does this for 5 months. She continues to progress, do all these things slightly more, always realizing how much satisfaction she can feel in doing all these activities for herself, really being there for herself, really enriching her life. And she's like, wow, I'm pretty happy about myself. I'm feeling pretty whole within myself, which is where you want to start with. When you feel whole within yourself, then when you decide to look for companionship, you're not doing it from an empty place where you're feeling needy. If you feel needy about anything, that's one of the things I always tell people I work with, is check yourself. When you feel needy, you're going to be reaching from an empty place and often pulling things to you that are not going to be supportive for who, in a healthy way for who you are. Okay? It's going to be coming from a place of lack, coming from a place of need and dysfunction. So that's actually one of the things I've always used for myself when I feel needy, emotionally needy. And this isn't like natural, healthy, I need some support or whatever, but when I'm feeling I'm coming from a deficit place, to me that is a red flag. And I've always lived by that one for a very long time. Self-imposed idea. But I think it's a really good idea, to be honest with you. And it helps me gauge myself. And then I can kind of go inward and say, okay, what am I needing here? What am I needing? How can I do this for myself? So anytime there's this feeling of emptiness or neediness, I think it's a really good time to take a pause and kind of tune into yourself and see what you can do to take care of yourself. Be inspired to do something that will help you feel happier without trying to fill it up with something unhealthy, without turning to a substance, without turning to food, without turning to a partner that has a bunch of issues, or they're selfish, or they're unkind, or whatever it is. If you can fill up your own tank, it's so valuable. You will not only heal yourself and feel healthier and everything, you cannot heal through trying to stuff it with other things, with the unhealthy things, with alcohol, with substances, with dysfunctional relationships, or really toxic friendships even, or overeating. When you do those patterns, or workaholism, whatever it is, when you stuff it, that void feeling with unhealthy things, it makes the hole bigger, it makes the pattern stronger, and it's harder to undo. So just realize that the effort you put into yourself is an investment for your happiness, for your satisfaction in life. It is so worthwhile. So she does this for 5 months. She's doing these exciting things that are gifts that she gave to herself for her own well-being. So she did all these things. She's feeling fantastic. And then at the end of 5 months, she is feeling so much better about herself that she has a container where she decides to have some standards. She's like, okay, she decides now I'm going to sit down, and she can do a couple things. She can make the list, she can make the vision board, she can decide however she wants to do it. She can be like, this is what I deserve to have. These are the requirements. She never even had requirements before. My mate has to be sober, for one thing. I've had enough of the substance pattern. I grew up with it. I did it for a while. No more. So Misty's like, they have to be sober. They have to appreciate nature. They need to have their own hobbies so they have a strong sense of self. They have to do things that are helpful for others. Maybe they like to volunteer with animals. Maybe they like to volunteer and help, domestic violence survivors. Maybe they support the community or help with the homeless. They do something meaningful, and they like to eat good. So those are kind of the things she's decided are now her requirements. So excited. She has requirements of her standards now. She's realized what feeds her soul, makes her feel whole as a person. So she wants someone that is in alignment with those kind of paths in life, so she can share and continue to cultivate that wholeness within herself with someone. So someone that shares some kind of compatibility with that is so important. And they emotionally work on themselves. She wants someone that has something they do. Doesn't always have to be therapy. Maybe they've done therapy. Maybe they journal. Maybe they are like just reading books about self-help. Maybe they're part of a support group. But she wants a mate that is well-rounded. So I'm so excited. So Misty has made these decisions, and that's where she moves forward for her connection in friendship, for her connection with relationship, romantic relationship, and keeps facilitating this wholeness within herself. So there's my story about Misty. I'm going to take a quick break to read you about one of the shows here at KPCA-LP in Petaluma. And so this show that you can watch is on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. It's called Ready, Set, Shuffle, and it's hosted by Adrian. Ready, Set, Shuffle is a 1-hour radio program. This show is a curated playlist of songs that are loosely linked to a theme. My age places me with those that are affectionately known as Generation X. Making mix tapes was a meaningful pastime for Gen Xers. Lyrically and sonically, mixtapes communicated courtship, friendship, and love. My process for creating Ready, Set, Shuffle takes me back to those days when a mixtape could express more than words. Music is an essential companion to me. I appreciate the power of music to invoke feelings that saturate the mind, body, heart, and soul. Music is a soundtrack to whatever is going on in my life. Thank you for listening to Ready, Set, Shuffle. It is my hope that you tune in each week to hear some songs that you liked as well. Consider this program my mixtape to you. It sounds lovely. I remember making tapes. I really remember that. I'm old school. I still have tapes, cassette tapes. I still have VHS. I'm one of the few people. I know, it's archaic. So that show sounds fantastic. And I remember doing that. There was a lot of preparation and thoughtfulness that went into making the cassette tapes, because you had to rewind, you had to find, if you were taking it off of something else. There was a lot of prep work involved in that. Sounds like a lovely show. So again, today we have talked about loneliness. We've talked about the emptiness. And so we're going to end with a guided meditation. So you can do this with me now. I hope you sit comfortably. You can sit with your feet on the floor, or you can lay down. Palms up on your thighs. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. Two more deep breaths. And last deep breath. And I want you to imagine feeling any kind of sensation of having something you want to heal within your body, like kind of like the empty tank example of something you want to fill within your body. So this can be loneliness or just feeling empty. And so we're going to take some breaths, and as you take those breaths, let's give a color, a beautiful color that you really just looks really warm and quite nurturing and beautiful feeling. And when you breathe in this color, put it into that place of emptiness. So see, maybe deep down within your belly, or if your heart feels like it needs some good stuff in there, wherever you're feeling like you might hold loneliness in your body. I think it can often be deep within our belly. It can often be within your stomach, in your heart, often the heart. So let's breathe in. Bring that color into that part of your body with your breath. Breathing deeply, pulling that color in. Breathing deeply. So once we've put that color deep into that part of our body, then we're going to give it some texture. So I want you to think of some activities. Imagine yourself doing some of the activities like I created for Misty, my imaginary person. So pick something. I'm going to be going on hikes. So I'm going to be, playing drums, or I'm going to start playing my guitar, or I'm going to start just listening to beautiful jazz music at night. I'm going to start painting. I'm going to start dancing. So I want you to imagine some things that give it some texture that feel good. Okay? So breathing in, give it that texture. How's it going to feel? How exciting is it going to feel to do those inspiring, passionate things? So breathe that in. Imagine yourself doing that activity. Imagine how's it going to feel to, get some exercise, do some dancing, do some hiking, start playing tennis, whatever it is. But imagine doing something that feels really good, that you enjoy doing. Maybe you just sit outside, make sure you get a nature connection, but you decide, I really like playing tennis, and that puts me outside. I'll play outdoors. I'm going to look at the sky. I'm going to listen to the birds. So breathe in and imagine doing that experience for yourself. That's part of the texture of this color. And imagine doing something that, maybe reading the book that is, you used to read a book, you enjoyed that author, they were really witty and fun and kind of playful. You're going to find that for yourself. You could also listen to a comedian. Sometimes you drive home, put on the comedian station in Spotify, and just listen to someone that's good-natured and hysterical. Do something that just kind of gives you that sense of connection. So you can do it through a book, you can do it through comedians, you can do it through something that just activates the mentality in your mind. So breathing in Imagine doing something that works for you, and it's starting to fill up that part of your body. All those activities, all that intention. And release. Okay. So we're going to bring this to a close today. Thank you for showing up and listening again. You can go to my website, dynamicchangewellness.com, or my YouTube station, Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness. I will see you next week. Thank you.